classroom, course navigation for optimal student success, and course content and tools for engagement. We're going to start with each topic with Christina's role as Assistant Dean as she tries to resolve issues with students and faculty. And then Lauren's going to follow up with her role as an instructional designer and the theory behind the tools of the LMS, which is our Blackboard. And then lastly, with me as the instructor role. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the presentation and then we're going to hold for questions, and we'll have questions at the end. And I promise we're going to have plenty of time. So if you want to write your questions in the chat box, that's fine. Or at the end, it's super small. We could unmute and then open it up for discussion. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the baton over to Christina.
Thank you, Allison, and hello, everyone. So Allison just did a great job explaining the plan for this session. So our first topic of discussion is methods for enhancing communication in online classrooms. And we can go to the next slide, please. So when we aren't taking steps to enhance communication in online classrooms, we have to think about what students may experience. So students may be unsure of where to begin with their online courses. They may be new to online courses or new to college in general. They may be afraid to take that first step into their online course. They may be afraid that they are going to get lost or take a wrong turn or make a big mistake that they can't undo. And some of our online students today, as we know, are not taking online courses as their first choice. They're taking them in response to the world events. We certainly still have students who this was their first choice, but we have to keep in mind there are students that did not plan to be an online student, but are doing it out of necessity. And so students may be very hesitant about taking online courses. They may be only experienced with traditional in-person courses. And so they are craving that level of instructor presence that they may have experienced when taking traditional in-person courses. Students may be willing to reach out to instructors or college administrators with questions, but they may find themselves sending multiple emails or voicemails a day, each with a new question, as they try to successfully navigate their courses. So what are some steps that we can take to try to support student needs regarding classroom communication?
So faculty often find that there is a significant amount of work associated with communicating with students in the online classroom, especially when compared to a face-to-face class. There are some strategies that you can use to combat the workload associated with communicating with your students in the virtual environment. My first tip is mechanization. So one way to do this is by using built-in tools within Blackboard that do some of the work for you. So in Blackboard, you can post to announcements that can also send a copy of that announcement directly to students' email. That way they get it in their email. They also see it posted in their course. If they're using the app, they get a notification, but you only have to put it in one place. In Blackboard, you can also send automated reminders directly from the Grade Center for missing assignments. So instead of emailing each student individually and following up and saying, hey, I see you're missing this, or waiting for students to reach out and say, why don't I have a grade for this assignment? You can go in when you're grading or on the due date and select send reminder, and it will automatically email any students who have not submitted an assignment. Another strategy for communication is automation. So mechanization and automation kind of go hand in hand. Automation being, don't recreate the wheel. If you're teaching the same course every semester or multiple courses in the same semester, save your announcements and your messaging to students in a document. If you're savvy, you can just go to Blackboard, copy and paste back over. But I like to save them someplace, even semester to semester, because you can look at it and if it still applies, you can reuse it. Check your work, update the dates, make sure, you got the current dates and the pertinent information. But if there are things that are common to every course, every time, you don't need to recreate the wheel. If you want to make it easy on yourself too, be generic in your messaging wherever possible, as far as the semester name and the course section. So you don't have to do it each semester if the rest of the content is good. When designing your course, build in checkpoints to communicate with your students. Over time, teaching a course, you become familiar with the common questions and sticking points. It might be before an exam, before a paper, or at the muddiest point in the course when you know many students have the same question every semester. So the muddiest point refers to a formative assessment technique where you ask students to give feedback on the most confusing part of a lecture or topic. That's something I want to highlight because feedback and communication is a two-way street. And it's important to allow students a chance for you to give them formative feedback throughout the course as well. And lastly, speaking of feedback, another method that you can use to communicate with students online is grading feedback. So use your grading feedback to provide rich and effective feedback to your students. Rather than, again, sending individual emails to each student, you're already in there, you're already grading their assignments. In Blackboard, you can mark up their assignments, their paper assignments if they've turned in. If it's a quiz, you can do feedback for each question. You can also do general feedback. And consider giving audio or video feedback too, which allows students different options for engaging with you. And also it helps promote universal design for learning. And you might want to have online conferences with students to discuss their progress or to give feedback on a specific assessment.
I think it's great to begin your course with a welcome email. This can also be a welcome announcement that you automatically email out to students at least 1 week prior to the class starting. I always print or download my roster and then check it each day to see if any new students have enrolled or have added the course so that I can send the welcome email to them prior to that first day. Explain to students who you are, what they can expect from the course, and what you expect of them. Make sure you tell them the book that you will be using, maybe add a picture of the cover and the different varieties and ways that they can purchase that book, whether it's online, there's a lot of online versions, some students prefer that, or if it's an actual tangible book. Also tell them to whom and how they should reach out if they have questions about the course. Remember, you are a resource to the students, and in some cases, maybe be the only lifeline they have to the college. So attach your syllabus to the welcome email as well. And we'll talk about the syllabus. I have it everywhere. Also add a welcome video. I have video assignments for the students to introduce themselves, and I asked for them to have 3 items that represent their past, their present, and their future. I make my own video as well as a model for them, but also so that they get to know me a little bit prior to the start of the semester. It's important that they realize that I am not a robot, I'm a real person. Monday memo, you can use a weekly or per module announcement to communicate with your students. So what I do is I review the past week. So any themes that came up or any corrections that I need to make from some of their feedback, I'll put that in the Monday memo. I also have a list of reminders telling, for example, when they email me or they text message me, please tell me what section that they're in so I don't have to look them up in every single roster. Also, I let them know, remind them what's due that week. In addition to automatically emailing these announcements, you can also place a shortcut in your course menu to the announcements tool. I set these up on Friday to be sent out first thing Monday morning, so I don't have to remember to do it on a Monday morning. Some students take, I believe Christina said this, some students take online courses because that's the method of learning that fits them best. But as we all know recently, many students are on online courses because they don't have a choice. They like the social aspect of the in-class lectures and class discussions. So how can we do that, right? And I love getting to know my students and always have a goal of greeting each by name. By the second week of class, I know everybody. It's a little bit harder to do that in an online class, especially if it's asynchronous. So how can you bring that to an online class, especially one that is asynchronous? So first, your presence as an instructor is evident in the tone of your writing throughout the course. Responses to emails and discussion boards, flip grids, any instructor created videos, and your feedback to the students. They want that feedback. Second, videos. I mean, who doesn't love to record themselves, right? Says no one ever. Using tools like Echo 360, Lecture Capture, Collaborate Ultra, which is live meetings, or the Flipgrid Shorts to record videos and or to chat with your students is another way to increase communication and engagement. So if you're not sure how to use some of these, contact your online learning or educational technology department, which is people on here, for more information about how to use those tools. Let your students get to know you and see you, bad hair and all. And then who likes to get an email response a week after they sent the email, right? No one. I have 2 rules that I stick to. Respond in 48 hours max. When asking students about their preference of in-class versus online, like many say that they like in-class because they can ask questions and get immediate responses, like right away, like they'll come early to class or stay late or just ask it in class. As long as the email comes in during somewhat normal hours, I respond that day. I also have a Google Voice number that they can call or text a question to me. Just again, be sure to set expectations. Give me your name and section number when you text me so I can save it and then know who it is moving forward. Nothing like getting a text message and saying, hey, what did I miss? Or what am I missing? I don't know who you are. I don't know what class you're in. I have 9 classes. I don't know. So really, really make sure you have to remind them over and over and over to do that. My second rule is Ohio, only handle it once. Once you get an email, respond to it, forward it, or delete it. I have my work email on my phone, which may not always be the greatest thing. So sometimes I'll open it and realize I can't help because I'm not in front of my computer, but I will respond and let them know, give them a timeline of when I can respond.
Okay, so our next topic of discussion is course navigation for optimal student success. Thank you. So when we aren't taking steps to support course navigation for optimal student success, what can students experience? I sometimes will encounter students who will ask what the secret is to being a successful online student. And many educators, when asked this question, will reference time management as being one of the top of their list. So for many of our students, they are going to be managing their academic time, juggling multiple classes, while also managing challenging personal responsibilities, such as 1 or more jobs, caring for children, or caring for adult relatives. And unfortunately, it can be common for students to feel lost in their online courses, and they'll be spending that precious time searching for assignments, searching for instructions, trying to find important information, maybe looking in the wrong place. And when students get lost, they can become very discouraged and they can become disorganized. And that can lead to them missing due dates or completely missing out on assignments. And this leads to them falling behind and feeling like there's no way to catch up. So what are some ways that we can prevent this from happening and help students to have better experiences navigating their courses?
So first, consistency is key. You see the rows of seats there and everything looks the same. So each week, module, unit, chapter, topic, however you've broken out your Blackboard course, it should follow the same format. From week to week, unit to unit. So for example, you might start with learning objectives, a checklist, readings, links, videos, activities, and assessments. And every week, unless it's something different happening that week, like an exam, but every standard week would follow that same format. So students should know what to expect because they have the same format week after week. And if you're familiar with the film, each week should be like Groundhog's Day. Part of course navigation is the technological aspect of moving through a course. It can be helpful to provide students with help and how-to videos for any tools that you're using. There are so many existing how-to videos already for learning management systems like Blackboard that we use and other tool providers. So you don't have to create your own. They're already out there, both from the instructor point of view and the student point of view. And they're usually pretty thorough and already accessible with captions. So you don't need to recreate the wheel with your own help videos. But if you're using unique tools in your course, you should be prepared to be the first line of defense for your students. So this tool might be new to them and you may have to help them figure out how to navigate it. If you become an expert on it, you're now the best resource that they could have. So if you can't troubleshoot their issue, you should know where you can send them to have their issue resolved quickly. Provide support websites and phone numbers wherever needed. Consider a Start Here section in your course. Blackboard does have one built in already. It's called Begin Here. And you can add to that section. So that's where you can put in your help and how-tos if you're using a specific tool. You can also put in a copy of your syllabus, which should already link there when you upload it to the syllabus button. Any policies that you have that are specific to your course, housekeeping information, troubleshooting tips, any of that. And then require students to view that information first, which can save you a lot of time in the future. It's also a good one-stop shop for any of those beginning of semester questions or issues that typically arise. And a little bonus tip is some instructors will do a low stakes or even extra credit syllabus quiz. And you can also do that with course navigation. So create a little quiz asking your students where they would expect to find certain information in your online Blackboard course. That will help gauge their understanding of the course layout and make sure the navigation is user-friendly.
So piggybacking off of Lauren, want to make sure that your Blackboard is in the right order. So there are some things that you really need to do. Number one, think like a student. Your LMS, continuously check the student preview. So once you change things, then you can check the previews to see what the student sees, and then have a friend or family member who is not familiar with Blackboard at all to see if they can try and navigate. Number two, organization. Keep a consistent order to the Blackboard, not only on the landing page, but each folder should look the same, just like Lauren said. Repetition, number three. Be sure to repeat important items throughout. Due dates, syllabus should be in several locations. If a big assignment is introduced in week 5 and not due until week 8, be sure to have that assignment info in all the weeks in between. It will also help eliminate students asking, like, where can I find, because no matter what week they're in, it's going to, that information about that assignment is going to be there. Whoops. Again, syllabus should be here, there, everywhere, right? So I actually sent it in the welcome email. I have a syllabus tab on the side of my Blackboard. I also have syllabus right on the landing page of the learning content. So they have it everywhere. Also having a how-to folder with videos. So students use different technological gadgets, right? They have iPad, they use PC, a Mac, their phone. Having a folder with how to convert to PDF or Word documents, how to get access to free Microsoft 365 through the school. They don't realize they have that, amongst other things. Have a calendar with due dates. I keep the calendar at the top of the toolbar so that they can check when assignments are due. Now they have their due dates in the syllabus, they have it in the learning content folders for the actual assignments, and they have a calendar that they can click on to see when everything is due. Also make sure to check your dates. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel, like Lauren said earlier, if we're teaching the same course every semester and we're just course copying. Make sure you check your dates. So just make sure you check those dates and assignments. Or in any videos that you make. So again, like Lauren said, try to make them generic so you can continue to use them. The students don't need to know what your secrets are. Add a video tour. Just because we all use Blackboard at NCC doesn't mean that we all set it up the same way, right? And so students can get really confused. Because all of my courses are asynchronous this semester, I made a 9-minute video using Zoom, taking them through the Blackboard in my class. I showed them where they could find the information, the syllabus, the learning content, how to submit and upload assignments, the calendar of due dates, and how to see their grades and check feedback, because I get that question the most. And then every semester I'll get more questions. I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that I update that for the next semester, because it wasn't clear. But those are usually the questions I get in the first 2 weeks of class. I attach it to the welcome email, and then I also post, because we know students don't always read their emails, I also post it to the top of the learning content folder to direct students to watch it when they have those questions.
So our final topic of discussion is course content and tools for engagement. When we aren't taking steps to improve course content and successfully utilize tools for engagement, what can students experience? Some students begin online courses with pre-established assumptions of what online courses are like. They may be completely new to online courses, as we've said, or they may have experienced online courses before, but their previous experience may be negative or outdated. And students who may thrive in an online course where they can engage in lively class discussions may now feel limited by what's available in an online course or what they think is available in an online course. Some prospective students express concerns about if they will, quote unquote, teach themselves in online courses. They wonder if there is even a real instructor for their online courses. They may believe that online courses aren't a good fit for them because they worry that they won't get the interaction with classmates and instructors that they feel they need to learn best. And the truth is that sometimes these fears and worries can be confirmed by an online course experience. Some online courses may not feature any tools for student engagement or communication, or some of these tools might be featured, but they're not being used correctly or to their full potential. And online students can begin to get the feeling that they are teaching themselves, or they are in an isolated learning environment that lacks the presence of peers or an instructor. So what are some steps that we can take to address this?
So this slide references everyone's favorite topic, which is learning objectives. Yay! No? Okay. So providing unit level learning objectives for your students is a helpful way to help them keep track of what they should be learning. Effectively written learning objectives, so using Bloom's taxonomy, are a great guide for students. You could consider mapping your learning objectives, which means you take your course level learning objectives, those are usually in the course outline. You create your unit level learning objectives, so for each week or module. And from there, you map or note the specific content items like the readings, the activities, and then the assessments that correspond both to each of those unit level objectives and the course level learning objectives. This is actually a useful tool for students to see their progress and how the work that they're doing now is going to contribute to a full understanding of the content.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, my mouse died too, so I'm literally just using my arrows now.
Let me stop share for a second and then go back in. That was weird. All right, we're going to go to this other one that I have saved. This is my backup. How about that?
Always prepared.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So Allison mentioned adding dates to the syllabus and to the calendar, and it's also helpful to have a checklist in each week or module unit chapter folder so that students can easily see and reference the assignments they have to do for that section. It's also helpful to put each content item, activity, or assignment in the order in which students should complete them in that unit folder. That way they know when they reach the end of the folder or the end of that section, they're done. And speaking of checklists, we have a semester checklist for faculty at NCC that highlights each of the steps that faculty need to take when setting up their online course each semester. So that way you can look at that checklist and say, okay, I've done all of these things. I've changed my dates. I've posted my syllabus, and you know that you're ready and you have your course set up too. On this slide, you see some different tools listed: Echo 360, Zoom, Padlet, Otter, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra. We've mentioned some of these tools previously, but keep in mind that many have multiple uses. So with Echo 360 or any other lecture capture tools, you can create video content to share with your students. And it also has built-in capability for polling and tracking, and the ability for students to flag confusing spots in the video or take notes. Zoom and Blackboard Collaborate Ultra also have capability for polling, breakout rooms, and other interactive in-meeting features. Padlet is a group wiki tool that can be used to share content And also students can add to the board or Padlets. So I've seen that used as a really effective shared class resource guide for ideas and sources for final projects. Donna Sarah in her communication course uses it as a place where students can keep track of its history of broadcasting, and they keep track of trends throughout the years. Otter AI is a voice-to-text transcription tool that's meant for creating text transcripts from audio recordings. So this is usually a accessibility tool, but it can also be used as a tool for students to complete audio projects or podcasts. Then they have a text version of their recording to turn into. I've seen Renee Shamtov, who teaches a genocide course for honors. Her students had the option to do a website or this kind of podcast assignment using Otter. Instructors can also use Otter to create text version of their lecture notes. So several different unique uses for the same tools.
So engagement is the hot term right now. How can you provide engagement to your students, right? So make it 3D as opposed to 2D. So here are some things that I've used in my classes. Kahoot. So it's a very fun way to keep students engaged. You can use it in a synchronous or asynchronous environment. I use it to prep my students for the final exam, or even throughout the semester to check their learning in a fun way with quizzes. Students get competitive with the points and have a good time. I usually give extra credit. It might only be like 3 points for the top winner, 2, and then 1 point for third place, but they get really, really excited. Course Arc is another creative way to introduce concepts, have mini checkpoints with puzzles and quizzes, and you can add video. Course Arc can be linked to your LMS or to Blackboard, and the grade column, which is really important for efficiency as an instructor, for easy grading and tracking how much a student completed. Flipgrid, this has been one of my favorite tools, I say this semester, but pretty much this year now. I alternate discussion board with Flipgrid, so every other week, so the students can see and hear each other, and then we all respond with our own videos, myself included. I set the time for my particular one. You can go up to 10 minutes, but I do it at 1 minute and 30 seconds to keep it short and sweet. So then they tend to stick to the question, and it doesn't feel like it's taking a lot of time for them. I've also gotten really positive feedback about this. And they also know that they can do it anywhere. I've had students do it at work, in the break room. I've had them do it in a car. I've had them do it on a walk, at home. So it can be done anywhere, from a phone, from a computer. If you have any camera shy students, they can always put a filter on their video or place an emoji over their face. So that can help as well. And then lastly, we've talked about this already, right? Consistency is key. So consistency for deadlines, discussion board, and Flipgrid. Have a checklist for each week or module, depending on how you set it up. Reminders on Blackboard are really important. I make sure that everything is always due the same time. So for discussion board or Flipgrid, their initial post is due Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. Then their response to due students is Friday, 11:59 p.m. All other assignments, quizzes, papers are due Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. Those are the same every single week. So they don't ever have to think oh, when is this due? Well, it's either due Wednesday, it's due Friday, or it's due Sunday, depending on the assignment. Students do need a little hand-holding at the beginning. So I do send a reminder for assignments on the due day with just the click of a button of whoever didn't turn it in yet. And then that gets sent out to everyone.
Okay, so that is the end of our formal presentation. This is very formal. So just to wrap it up before we take questions, we're hoping that you've gained some insight into student perspectives and picked up a couple tips that you can begin to apply to your work supporting your online students. And I want to remind you that we really encourage you to keep your online learners in the forefront of your mind as you make decisions for your classes. And as you prepare for the rest of the semester or for an upcoming semester, we encourage you again to reflect on your experiences this semester or in previous semesters and think about what worked well, what didn't work well, and think about what changes, big or small, you could implement to try to make some improvements for the student experience. So we thank you again. And with that, we are going to open it up for questions. And I do see some questions in the chat. So yeah, we'll move to that now. And I'm just going to go to the top of the chat and kind of scroll down and just point out, I did list a link earlier in the session for you if you'd like to share it with your students. It's to our online tech requirements webpage. And that is one of the places where we put a new tool we just created for students. We talked about how a lot of online courses are using different technology. And so we have a course technology help tool that you can direct students to if they need assistance, and if something that you're not able to answer questions about, then we have a lot of different resources linked on that tool to help out students. A question that came in from Vertel was about how to make a video in Zoom, and do we have that capacity? I don't know if Laura wants to jump in at all, or Allison. I did share a link to just some general information on how to do a recording with Zoom with a free account. But I don't know if Lauren or Allison want to touch on any like limitations they know of with that, or just any other tips about that.
So I can just touch on some of the limitations with it, and then Lauren can take over, I guess, anything else that I'm missing. So with a free account, I believe you have 40 minutes, but doing a Zoom recording is super, super easy. And if you're not recording anything more than 40 minutes, it's super easy. So you can share your screen, just like when we're doing Zoom now. So I can share my screen and have a PowerPoint presentation and then speak as I go through it, and I just record it. And then once I save it, it downloads to a special place on your Zoom account. And then you can download it or share that link. So it's really easy to use, but again, there is that 40 minutes kind of capacity that you have.
Which is probably good, because no student wants to watch a 40-minute plus video. So just keep that one.
Very, 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 very true. Very true.
You can chunk it at least.
Yeah. Lauren, did you have anything to add on the parameters of that?
So for Zoom, I think there's a mix of people who have free accounts or paid accounts. For some faculty are using Zoom for their class meeting times for blended courses, and they might have paid accounts through the college. If you are interested in exploring that option, you can contact the help desk. I will also say the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra is a free tool built right into Blackboard, which does also allow for screen recording. You can get a link, post that easily in your course. And we mentioned some other tools too. So Zoom might be helpful if you're already using Zoom, especially for class meetings or office hours or things like that. But there are no shortage of free tools out there for you to use.
And Flipgrid Shorts, that's 10 minutes. So that's the max of 10 minutes. The only downside of the Flipgrid Short that I found was that it gives you 3 seconds, like it counts. When you push record, it gives you 3 seconds to then share your screen and like get ready to go with your PowerPoint. So that was the only thing. I haven't been super fast in trying to figure out, but that was the only downfall. Other than that, it's really easy and easy to use, but those are the recording tools.
All right, so I know another question came up about our thoughts on students relying on learning outcomes, whether or not they do. And Lauren put a really great response to that. So I don't need to like read what Lauren wrote, but if you want to scroll to just some of the thoughts on, what learning outcomes can do for students and why it's important that we at least give that to them to have that as an option to look at. Question from Professor Black about how we can do a checklist in Blackboard. Looks like Lauren already addressed that in the chat, talking about how you create a text item in Blackboard and kind of type in your items there. And that was the end of our chat. So there's no other questions. So at this point, again, if you want to just unmute yourself, you can also just ask questions out loud. Or I just want to share. Yeah, Dan.
Thank you, and this has been really helpful. It's confirmed some of the things that I've been doing this semester, which is good to know, because sometimes I just feel like it's overkill, like the videos and where I'm posting things. So thank you, Allison, because I post my syllabus everywhere. I'm like,
good.
You must think I'm crazy. One question though, for communicating, I always encourage students to talk to meet with me over Zoom over my office hours, and I am, fairly flexible throughout the rest of the week for meeting one-on-one. And I find that when I'm getting questions over email, and for whatever reason they're hesitant to meet, or I'm explaining these things the same way I've explained them in the things that are posted up on Blackboard and the things that are already been emailed in announcements or other videos that I've even made. So sometimes they're like very specific to their own topic, what they're kind of doing for that assignment, but in many ways it's kind of the fundamentals. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I would rather talk these things out with a student one-on-one. It's so difficult. I spend a lot of time responding to those emails because I have to be very specific and they're not giving me a lot of information and I'm trying to give them, you know what I mean? There's just a disconnect, but I also am trying to say it's on the week 11 folder, it's there.
Yeah.
And I know they're looking at it, but there's still that disconnect. So it's not different. It's not entirely different than it would be if I was teaching, on campus. But like you were all saying, you get that opportunity, a few times a week to have someone stay after class and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. How should I? And then it's, that's like less than a minute sometimes right there. When now it's like 20-minute email exchange. So how do I get I guess my question is, and thank you for listening. Apparently I was holding on to some frustration. How do I encourage students to meet with me over Zoom? I feel like I'm a friendly guy, and maybe it's just a scheduling thing, but is there any tip that you have?
I think that what I do is because I think we've all done that. I have office hours Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and no one's come in weeks, right? So when I get these lengthy emails or something that I need to explain better, I'll just ask them right away, hey, do you have a minute to jump on the phone or jump in Zoom real quick? It's easier for me to explain. And they don't really have another way to talk to you. So you're kind of getting them in there, and I will tell you, they will. They're like, yeah, a lot of times they prefer a phone call instead of Zoom, which is fine. At least I'm having a conversation. But sometimes it's like, oh, this is really hard to type. Like, this is a lot to type. Let's talk through it. Do you have a minute? Here's my phone number. Just call me. I'm available right now. Like, so if you make it urgent, because that's what they want. They want those immediate answers. So that's kind of how I kind of drive them. I'm not answering you until you talk to me.
I guess just a resource to pop in there. I apologize. I forget if we cover a lot of different tools in this session, as you noticed. So I forget this is mentioned, but if you haven't looked into Google Voice, that's a really great tool to use if you don't want to share your personal cell phone number and
yeah,
all of that.
I have that. I set that up last spring. Thankfully, that was a nice tool to use. No one really calls me on it, but yeah.
I do. I get a lot of text messages, but again, they have to tell me who they are and then I save it and then I'm good.
Yeah, I've really been pushing Zoom. So maybe it's just giving them that other option of doing a voice call. Yeah, that's going to be helpful. Thank you.
And if anybody's in the call who is like, what is Google Voice? I've never heard of this. If you look up Google Voice on a web browser, you'll find it, and you can create an account for free with a Gmail account. And then it allows you to create a phone number you can use on your computer or even a mobile device that you can like dial out or send text messages through, and it protects your own personal phone number. So, but students, you have a phone number you can give to students then. So it's kind of like, if you're not on campus anymore and don't have an office phone number, you can list this as your phone number for them to reach you at.
And you can even have it forwarded to your personal phone number so you don't ever miss anything. So, but it's really nice because when my phone rings, I know if it's a student and it's coming from Google Voice, because like the rest of us, if you don't know the phone number, we don't answer. It's just what we do. So I know if it's Google Voice, I answer that because no one has that except for students. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, Google Voice does also have a do not disturb feature, which I really like. So you can turn it off on certain hours. You can set a schedule. You can also set different voicemails saying that you're out or saying that, you're going to have a longer response time. I also wanted to bring up, because you mentioned scheduling is an issue, which I found all the time, even in meeting with faculty, of, going back and forth of like, okay, well, what time can you Zoom? So what I use is a Doodle bookable calendar. It's a tool through Doodle, it's free, and it ties into your calendar, and you can set the times when you're available and send people a scheduling link. And then they click on the link and they see available times, they sign up, it goes right to their calendar, it goes right to your calendar. It makes life so much easier. So that might be a tool to look into. There are a few others. Thanks, Christina just posted that link in the chat. There are a couple other tools as well out there that are free, but some kind of scheduling tool like that, if you're teaching a lot of online classes, might be really helpful. Instead of having set office hour times, and you can set as many or as few time blocks as you want throughout the week. So maybe having a link where students can go and schedule something on their own time could be helpful too.
I stole that from Lauren because that's how she had me schedule something with her. And so I have that in the bottom of my signature. So I have the Doodle calendar, and then you can make it flexible. I mean, you can make it set it each week, but sometimes, our schedules change. And so you can change that, but really easy to use. And I just have that link they can click on. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of features with it. So like it's a really good tool. They've thought through a lot of potential issues. Like you can set up that, appointments have to be made so far in advance. So that way you're not caught off guard by someone who quickly jumps in your calendar and you didn't see it. So, and you get an email alert. So it's very well thought out tool.
I also want to say in the chat, I posted a link. It's a little bit further back, so I'll repost. It's all the presentation notes from what we talked about. So our presentation style today was kind of Pechakucha style, which is like images and then we're talking to you. But if you want to read through some of this, click on some links to some of these tools and how-to guides. That link is here, just posted in the chat. And we use CourseArc. One of the tools Allison mentioned that's interactive is the tool that we use to build out some of those resources. So you can explore that too. And if you're interested in potentially using CourseArc, you can contact me directly. I see a question in the chat from Bertel. Before we went to remote and were on ground, students almost never came to my office hours. They still don't virtually, even after I become less salty due to COVID-related low enrollment. Next semester, I'm going to mandate 1 office hour visit in my syllabus. It's going to count as participation. That is a great idea. And I think especially if you have some kind of scheduling, or if you have like a broader time span throughout the semester, there's no excuse, right? Like you can come to one thing at one time. So I really like that idea, Bertel.
Thank you so much for that. I just wanted to add one success that I have had over Zoom in my office hours, and I know it doesn't sound very fun, but I have a Thursday evening office hour that has been my most popular this semester. For one, I teach a class Friday morning, but I've also had, I think students that's like their active time. I feel like rather than, like Monday at 4 or 2 when my other ones are. So that's something that's helped, but I was kind of like, oh, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to be in front of my computer anyways on a Thursday night. So, and obviously my life isn't very exciting right now. So I could do it.
Something else I'll just mention in case it's helpful for anyone is I'm just thinking through random student questions I've answered this semester or tried to help students with. And one that's come up is if an instructor is using Blackboard Collaborate Ultra in their class, which we enjoy that people use that because again, it's built in, it's free, it's there in the LMS. But one issue I've seen only a few times, I'm not saying it's widespread, but if you use Blackboard Collaborate Ultra, I'll actually share my screen here for a moment and don't judge me for all of my tabs that are open. But you'll see that when students get to the Blackboard Collaborate Ultra dashboard, what I call it, every course comes equipped with this unlocked course room, and that's a video link that you can use. And unless you turn it off, it's open at all times, so a student can drop in at any time. But you also have the option as an instructor to create sessions, just like you would create a Zoom session. I have witnessed a couple times where there was a session created down here, but it wasn't clearly labeled. And faculty may have been using one of these links for office hours or for conferencing or for live sessions, but the student instructions weren't very clear. So just keeping in mind that there could be some confusion here. So you just always want to think, whenever you're creating instructions for students, you always want to think, like Allison said, like if you didn't know Blackboard at all and you're reading this for the first time, would you know what you have to do? And just anticipating what questions they might have. So just taking that extra 10 seconds to type in an extra step that says like click course room link at the top of the page, or click whatever it's called at in the middle of the page, just so that they know where to go. I heard it's not a horror story, but it's like oh man, I heard a story of where that happened to a class, and there's basically half the class was hanging out in this room, but the other half was in the correct room. And so this half the class missed class that day and was like, well, we're all here. Where's the instructor? They missed class today. It's because they were in the wrong room. So it does happen. So just being mindful of that as you're directing students. I like Vertel's her image. It's great.
I know it is.
Vertel, did you create that, or did a student make that, or just find that somewhere?
Believe it or not, back in 2006, one student, when I was lecturing, was like doodling while I was lecturing. So his head is down. I quietly sneak up behind him and tap him on the shoulder, and I yell out, I go, "Is that me?" He goes, "Yes, professor, but look what I have, ethics, integrity. I'm just putting down what you do and how you say it." And I said, "Make sure you give me a copy of that. I'm going to use it sometime in the future." Who knew?
That is great. I had a feeling there'd be a good story behind it.
Any other questions from anyone about anything that we talked about, or maybe successes or opportunities you might have or foresee for next semester? Any questions about, I know we all got the email about everything's going back to online after Thanksgiving. So if anyone has any online classes or blended, if you have any questions about converting, since we've all done that last spring. It's like Groundhog Day, Lauren, after every break.
Well, I will put in a shameless plug if there's no questions. I am running this road show every day this week. So we will do another one of these sessions at 2 p.m. today, the same thing you just saw. So if you were, I didn't see the sign up list. If you did sign up for both, you do only need to go to one. Tomorrow at 11 and 2, I'll be doing sessions on PowerPoint and accessibility in PowerPoint. If you're into accessibility, we'll be talking about that, as well as some like really cool built-in tools like subtitles and things like that. And then Thursday at 11 and 2, there will be sessions on PowerPoint live presentation, which is really similar to Kahoot. You get a code and people can follow along on their phone. It's really cool. And PowerPoint presenter coach. So if you teach any course where a student gives speeches or you want them to practice a PowerPoint, presenter coach is a cool tool. It gives you real-time feedback as far as filler words, sensitive words, your pacing, and it also gives you a nice little kind of printout at the end of a summary of your results and some suggestions on how you can improve.
It's really good. We actually used it, or I used it to go through our presentation on it just to practice and see what it was like. And it did come up with a sensitive word. We were really, when we talk about master skills, it did
mastery.
not like mastery. It was a sensitive word. So we were like, whoa. I mean, so it's very sensitive, but it was good. I really liked it. So I'm going to try to get on that on Thursday with you, Lauren.
I'll also just drop a link in the chat for our awesome CTLT website. There's a page dedicated to education technology now, and if you follow that link, and you'll be able to see all of our pictures. Don't look at Lauren's, she'll get mad at you. She hates having a picture taken. But if you scroll down, there's an area that says more about the OLET team, and there's a click here. And if you click there, it actually lets you know kind of like who's the go-to person for different tools that you might have heard about today. So if there's anything you heard about today that you want to try out and are looking to just get some more information, definitely keep an eye out for the different workshops we're offering. Sarah coordinates all those and she's doing a really great job. So definitely keep an eye out for those. But if you need to follow up with anybody, you can kind of see who's the go-to person in our department for those things. You're welcome.
All right. Well, I guess if that's it, enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully we'll see you on some more trainings this week. If not, have a wonderful holiday. Stay safe, wear a mask, eat your turkey by yourself. I'm just kidding. Social distance.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.